All right, let's break down the Jets' 10-9 loss to the Broncos at MetLife Stadium on Sunday with our New York Post Jets beat writer, Brian Costello. Brian, before we even get into the details of this game, your quick initial thoughts. If I was to tell you that Bo Nix would throw for 60 yards and the Broncos would still walk out of MetLife Stadium with a win, I'm sure you'd say what the kids say, that's cap. But just give us your quick initial thoughts on the game before we break this thing down.
Yeah, I mean, really ugly, sloppy loss, Brandon. The 13 penalties was the story of the game to me. Offense couldn't do anything, couldn't get in the end zone. Just terrible all around. To me, it's now, is this a blip on the radar or is this a sign of things to come? And that's what we have to figure out here over the next few weeks.
Yeah, a lot of people was wondering what the freak was going on with the offense. Like you said, couldn't get into the end zone. They really couldn't get anything going throughout the entire game. I guess where and who do we point fingers at this morning?
I think all around, I mean, the offensive line was terrible. That's where it starts. If you watch, the game, I was watching the game again this morning. They were just getting pushed back constantly. If you watch the goal line series where they had 1st and 1, they're getting blown up and pushed back. And one of the guys doing the blow up was John Franklin Myers, who had a really good game for Denver. So I think it starts there. Aaron Rodgers did not have a good game. I think blame goes there. Breece Hall, probably the worst game I've seen him have as a pro. And Garrett Wilson didn't do a whole lot. So I think there's plenty of blame to go around. And obviously the coaching staff deserves their fair share of blame as well. So to me, it's all over on offense, Brandon.
Yeah, you talked about 3 stars of this team, 3 guys who all throughout training camp, the hype was there, the expectation was there. And let's go to that 1st and goal, the first, second, the goal. 1st and goal from the 1 after that defensive pass interference, puts the ball at the 1. Breece Hall, 2 runs, gets nothing. Then there's an incomplete pass. And then there's the whole hard count on 4th and goal. Give me your thoughts on that 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down as a whole? Like, where do we point fingers there?
Like if you watch it, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They got blown off the ball. Solomon Thomas was in there at fullback. He got pushed back at one point into the play. Tyler Conklin got pushed back into the play. On the 3rd down pass, Olu Fashanu got beat by John Franklin Myers, which he was in Rodgers' face. Conklin was open in the end zone for a flash, but Rodgers couldn't get him there because he had Franklin Myers in his face. So you go there. I question, why wasn't Braylon Allen in on there? Like to give him at least one run. He actually was in on 4th and 1 before the penalty, so maybe they were going to give it to him on 4th down. But Braylon Allen is a guy who just doesn't lose yards, so he falls forward all the time. I understand why you wouldn't use him at the goal line. And then John Simpson, it's inexcusable to be jumping off sides on 4th and 1 there. You got to be disciplined. I don't care about the hard count. I really don't. I mean, they practice the hard count all the time. That's Aaron Rodgers' superpower. We've seen how many times he gets guys to jump and has a free play, so you can't take that away from him. The offensive linemen have to be disciplined. And Simpson there, 4th and 1, you have to be hyper focused, and you can't be jumping off sides there.
See, I represent the side of the people who thinks that he shouldn't have went hard count right there. That's something if you're back
I don't know
up.
if he did hard count, Brandon. I watched it. I watched it a few times because I'm thinking too, the hard count, I guess you get a new set of downs, is what you would do, but you're on the 1 yard line. So you're not thinking, okay, I'm going to get a free play here. So I'd have to ask him. The thing with Rodgers, it's not just the hard count. He mixes up his cadences all the time and does different cadences. And I think that screws guys up. So I'd have to really dig in on that and what happened there. But it didn't look like he's like head bobbed or anything to me. So I just think Simpson jumped, and, you can't jump in that situation. You just can't.
I'm glad you just clarified that because I would like to hear what Aaron Rodgers' thoughts was on that, because I don't think a veteran quarterback is going hard count knowing that the risk reward isn't really in your favor in terms of, probability and all that good stuff. So it definitely could have been a cadence thing, but it's unfortunate because the Jets needed to score there. Will Riverside talk about the Jets defense? They only gave up 10 points, but it was to a rookie quarterback. I thought they played well, Kaz. I thought they played well enough to win the game. So what are your thoughts on the Jets defense in this loss?
They were fine. This is not on them. I will say, I'm not sure how much it was good Jets defense versus bad Broncos offense. The offense looked terrible, and it was a tough day. I went back when I was watching it live. I'm like, man, Bo Nix can't even throw the ball, but the ball was just waterlogged when you see it when you watch it back. It was a heavy ball. So I think that was part of it. To me, Brandon, here's the thing with the Jets defense is, right, they fancy themselves as an elite defense, as one of the best defenses in the NFL. That was a game where, like, you got to score points. The defense needs to score points. And it's something the Jets don't do. They had one takeaway on Quincy Williams, when he knocked the ball out, but they didn't have any interceptions. They had no sacks in the game. So they were okay. And clearly, this loss is more on the offense than the defense. I want to make sure that's clear what I'm saying. But if you're going to be, talking about yourselves as one of the best defenses in the league, this is a day where the offense needed the defense to pick them up and maybe score some points, and they didn't do it. So I'm not raving about the defense this morning. I think they were more helped out by Bo Nix playing his 4th game in the NFL.
Yeah, there were a couple tip balls across the middle that you were hoping kind of landed into a Jets defender's hands. But, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think the Jets defense kind of did what they were supposed to do. But when you want to be Superman, you want to be a championship defense, you got to do more sometimes. Average offensive play, as we talked about the turnover as well, and then the penalties. To a lot of people, or Jets fans, they've seen this script before the last 3 or so seasons. Coach Saleh is getting absolutely ripped this morning on the television shows. How much of the loss is on Saleh?
Look, he's the head coach, so it always falls on him. But, the penalty thing, it's something when it looks bad like this, the coach always gets killed. Oh, they're undisciplined. But I looked this morning. I think the Jets are 4th or 5th in penalties. And I think the Ravens were 1 or 2. Like, does anyone think John Harbaugh's not a good coach? Like, I think if you're out there committing personal fouls and fighting and late hits and that stuff, that to me is more coaching penalties. The false starts, I don't know. From a coaching perspective, maybe the Jets have to simplify things a little bit. Saleh talked to us this morning, and he seemed to hint that maybe they're having the guys, they're thinking too much before the play. There's too much pre-snap stuff to worry about. So maybe they simplify things. That's coaching. But I don't think it's all like, oh my gosh, Saleh runs an animal house and they're paying for it. I just don't see it that way. I think guys commit penalties. Penalties are on players a lot of times and not on coaches. But at the end of the day, Saleh has to answer for this, and it did not look good. And this is going to be Saleh's reality in 2024. He got a mulligan last year when Rodgers got hurt, so everything's going to get blamed this year on him. And people, I get it. Jets fans are tired. They're tired of losing, and he's been here for 4 years, so he's going to hear it. And that's just the way it is, whether it's fair or not.
Really fast. They're 2-2 before they head out to London against the undefeated Minnesota Vikings team. Should fans RELAX heading into Sunday, or is it almost time to hit the panic button?
Not time to hit the panic button yet, but the panic button's in the room, Brandon, right? So I think these next 3 games, we're going to learn about the Jets, right? Vikings, then Bills on Monday night, and then Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. So the Bills and Steelers each have 1 loss. Vikings have no losses. And like I said before, we need to see what we see against the Broncos. Was that just a blip? Was it a bad day? Which you can have a bad day. Yeah. The teams play bad games. Or was this, a sign of things to come and a troubling omen for what's coming down the pike? I think we'll see these next 3 games. We're going to learn a lot about the Jets.
All right, Brian, thanks for hopping on with us this morning.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Brandon.